welcome back to another edition of the Johnny Torch Live program. Our first program of the new year. Happy 2023, y'all. Let me be the last to probably wish you a happy new year. And we are a couple of weeks into the new year now, and as I said on Twitter, check out the link in the description for my Twitter page and keep up to date with all the ongoings of the Johnny Torch program there. If you haven't already, please follow there. But unfortunately was felled with the common cold the day after New Year's Day. And my voice wasn't quite up to another broadcast. It's a good excuse because I'm lazy, quite honestly. Quite honestly, I don't want to just like do a shoddy job on doing a live stream. I want to make sure I find some articles. I want to make sure I get the images up for those of you who are not just using this podcast style, which would make it a lot easier for me if you did. But so you have some images to look at while you're listening to the melodious sound of my voice. And I have to make sure everything's all up to snuff. And I couldn't do that coming off a cold and just being generally miserable. But as I said on Twitter, I really hoped and prayed I wasn't going to get sick for Christmas like last year. I had a terrible cold the 23rd of December. Fortunately, it was over within 24 hours. This one wasn't over with quite as quickly, but it wasn't a severe cold. So, again, I'm very happy for the outcome to be able to start the new year off on the right foot. But if I do have to reach for some H2O and clear my throat, that's the reason why. To some of these topics here that we've got to cover in the time it's been since we were with you last. And let's start with the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer that just came out a couple of days ago. I was surprised this is coming up so quickly. This is February 17th. Today is January 18th at the time of this broadcast. So we've got basically a month before this baby is out. And I'm very excited about this one. I mean, I'm a person who wasn't completely thrilled with Phase 4. I know a lot of people weren't. But this one looks like it's got the goods. It looks like it's ready to deliver. Kang is the main heavy, and a lot of people were surprised to see Kang as the main antagonist of an Ant-Man film. Expecting him to be the villain of a Avengers movie seemed more appropriate. But they are giving him a good villain this time. I mean, Yellow Jacket was pretty good in the first film. The second film, Ghost, was okay. But they really upped the caliber of villain for this film. So that's, it shows that they have a lot of confidence, so to speak, in Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly as, being to take on one of the gold standard of the Marvel Universe. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Kang. I've said this before, but Kang to me is like the equivalent of DC's Brainiac. I really don't see the appeal. They're so convoluted in their backstory, and their motivations come across as somewhat dull. I mean, obviously, most megalomaniacal villains are after world/universal domination, but I don't know. I never really felt too jazzed by their plans. I mean, Doctor Doom has got the oomph. Lex Luthor has the charisma. It's kind of difficult to really get behind Kang. And perhaps I don't know him well enough, and this film could change that, but I don't know. The actor portraying him, as I've said before, I don't really feel the proper sense of menace with him. They did give him the blue face as some kind of costume, or I don't know if it's supposed to be some kind of spacesuit mechanism or something. So they're doing well with that. Cassie looks like she's in juvie at the beginning of this, which is kind of interesting. Apparently, she's going down the same path as Scott did, and it's interesting that the whole impetus for the story appears to be that, well, Kang is sort of approaching Scott as wanting him to do a deal where he can go back in time and I guess relive Cassie's childhood, because of course the blip prevented that, and that might be where they kind of try to get Scott. But again, this sets up pretty much more than just this film. This sets up Kang Dynasty, which is going to be the next Avengers film, which should be good given the cast of characters we've got left. The Sam Wilson Falcon, we've got Rhodey, and we've got, are they going to put She-Hulk in? Captain Marvel. I mean, we don't really have the greatest roster for the next Avengers film. So that's why, to me, this is the more exciting prospect of the upcoming phase. I probably should do a video about what, the highs and lows of Phase 4. I haven't seen Black Panther Wakanda Forever yet, though, so I think we'll hold off on that. Before we leave, let me, read some copy here about what's going on. We also got to see MODOK, which, given that they were trying to say that he wasn't going to look at all like MODOK, that he was going to have some kind of mechanical face, there is some kind of strange transformation here. You get a glimpse of him in one scene in one of the extended spots or whatever, where he does look human, and then you have another scene in this trailer where he looks kind of mechanical. So they're trying to play both sides of that, I think. Let's see. No, I don't really have any copy here for this, but suffice to say, it's going to come out in February 17th. So make sure you get your tickets ready. They're all on sale now. And I'm looking forward to this one. Like I said, I like Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly. I liked the two previous Ant-Man films. Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think, is underrated. I think a lot of people poo-poo that one because the stakes are not that high. And that's the thing. They overcompensated for that here, I think, by giving Scott like this world-shattering villain that could honestly destroy the fabric of time and space. So we'll see if that pays off for them. All right, as we continue on here, let's take a look at another trailer that just came out recently. This is for Superman and Lois Season 3. Now, a lot of people are speculating this could be the last season. They're just not formally announcing it yet, but something along the lines of what happened with Stargirl, which I did just finish Stargirl about a week or two ago. And again, that was such a great series. That was a great show. I think if anyone deserved to be spared, it was them. They defied the CW convention, and just great writing, great storytelling on that show. It had a few moments where I kind of, near the end of the series, near the end of that last season, I kind of felt like, I don't know. But on the whole, they salvaged it, and they really made it quite an entertaining series. I guess I should go on about that perhaps in, like I said, another video where I can talk about a lot of, like I used to do. I'd rank the TV series of the past season. It might be interesting to do that if I get a chance. All right, let's see. The CW released a new teaser for Superman and Lois Season 3. The show returns March 14th, another show that's not going to be too long away. Let's see. Lois Lane has gone missing, presumably being kidnapped by the show's latest villain. One particular scene showcases the Daily Planet's destruction in a shocking visual that may or not be part of a dream sequence. Let's see. Superman and Lois Season 3 opens weeks after Superman's blowout defeat of Ali Alston, with Clark and Lois now working at the Smallville Gazette together. That'd be nice to see Clark going back to work. Enjoying small-town life. However, the Kent's romantic bliss only shines a light on how isolating the secret can be as Chrissy struggles to balance a new love interest and her friendship with Lois. Lois's own work-life balance is put to the test when an undercover assignment reveals a deadly foe that promises to change the Kent family forever. While Superman would move heaven and earth for his family, a villain this merciless even that might not be possible. Elsewhere, the Kent boys find themselves being pulled in opposite directions as Jordan discovers what a superhero identity really means, and Jonathan searches for purpose beyond the football field. The network also released the Gotham Knights trailer, but I didn't even bother looking at that, to be totally honest with you. Yeah, I'm not tuning in for that. I'm sorry. But yeah, what do you think? Are you excited about Superman and Lois season 3? Do you think this show has the possibility of lasting now that the Arrowverse is all but finished? I don't know, there's also Gotham Knights, which I don't expect to survive past the first season. There's also the proposed David Ramsey spinoff. I don't remember what that's called, Justice U or something, where he's going to sort of mentor a band of fledgling heroes. Again, it sounded promising when there was going to be an Arrowverse for them to all orbit around, but now that there really is not going to be anything, because Superman and Lois isn't even in the Arrowverse now. They've established that last season. So I don't know. It's kind of sad to see this all go down this way, but unfortunately, it looks like it wasn't going to be any other way. In the same vein there, let's talk a little bit about Lex Luthor. We have some information there about that. Apparently, John Cryer will not return to the character of Lex Luthor that he originated in Supergirl, the series. They have confirmed that, or I should say he has confirmed that in a tweet saying, "I'm not sure I could have played Lex on Superman and Lois even if they had wanted to do this. I'm supposed to start shooting a new series for NBC in February. For the record, the folks at DC were very cool and gave me a heads up that the show was going a different way with a character before they started looking. Most of the time, actors learn about this stuff when it comes out in the trades. I'm grateful they were classy about it." So this is disappointing to me because, say what you will about John Cryer, but he did a fantastic job on Supergirl. Of course, when the show started and they were trying to suggest that John Henry was the Luthor because he was going by the name Captain Luthor or something. They were trying to suggest that maybe he was going to be the Luthor of this universe. It's really sad how this turned out, to be honest with you, because with Crisis on Infinite Earths, they tried to basically put everything under the umbrella of the Arrowverse being one. That there were not going to be these myriad of universes that were going to step on each other's feet. They were going to be all in one universe. And then they just backed out of that. And, in doing so, now you have this kind of thing where, yeah, Tyler Hoechlin started as Superman in the Arrowverse Prime, but now this is not quite that Superman. This is another universe. This is another Lois. This is going to be a wildly different Lex Luthor. And yeah, that's disappointing to me. I would have liked that they could have kept it under the whole umbrella like they were intending to do at one point. All right, so let me know what you think. Are you excited about these changes? Do you think that Lois and Superman, or Superman and Lois, will continue on beyond the third season? What do you think about the new Jonathan actor? I believe it's Jonathan's the one that was changed, right? How's that going to work? I don't know. I mean, they're just going to pretend it's, the same actor, I guess. It's one of those type things. It's not going to be something happened to him because of the, bizarro world from last season. They sometimes feel like they have to do that to cover up for an actor. I think it's best to just pretend that he was always Jonathan. But it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. All right, next up. The story that just will not go away, of course. We are talking about Ezra Miller and his difficulties with the game of life. Last May, the Flash star Ezra Miller was charged after allegedly stealing liquor from the house of one of their neighbors in Vermont. Deadline reported that the actor's plea for a reduced sentence of trespassing was accepted today, meaning he will only need to pay a $500 fine. Not bad. You can steal liquor out of a neighbor's cabinet and only need to pay a $500 fine. Well, in his case, he can afford it. Miller also has to serve 1 year on administrative probation, though that doesn't necessarily mean the controversial actor is heading to jail if he commits any further crimes during that period. Supreme Court Judge McDonald Cady told the actor, "You'll be on administrative probation for a year for the unlawful trespass that you'll be pleading guilty to. If you complete probation successfully and the probation is closed and discharged, count 1 will remain dismissed. However, if there's violation of probation that was filed that a court found probable cause for, the state could refile the count 1 burglary." As part of the plea deal, Miller has agreed to 41 conditions. 41! Which include no drinking, random drug tests, and commitment to continue seeking mental health treatment. Miller's attorney responded to the sentencing by saying Ezra Miller pled guilty this morning to a misdemeanor unlawful trespass in Vermont Superior Court and accepted the conditions imposed by the court. Ezra would like to thank the court and community for their trust and patience throughout this process. Yeah, we've had to be very patient as a DC fan trying to get this Flash movie out. Nobody wants to see him anymore. A lot of people are, sort of playing this game that, they got rid of Henry Cavill and they haven't even gotten rid of Ezra Miller. Well, they don't want to announce it right now. Apparently the movie is still a go and it's going to be released, June 16th. They're not going to do anything about it, make any statements about him being fired right now. They want people to go see the movie. But I'm pretty sure that with the rest of Zack Snyder's cast being, in the final stages of their careers with the DC universe, I don't think we're going to see Ezra Miller again. I think we're pretty confident in that that's not going to be happening. So is this the final story we'll be doing on this? Because we did at least 3 or 4 of these, keeping up with Ezra Miller and his wild and wacky path to fame and fortune. His his mental difficulties, I suppose, is what it's causing all this. But maybe he'll seek help and get over this problem. All right, next up, speaking of the Flash, we have the end of the, at least at one time, popular series starring Grant Gustin. And for me, it's a sad thing because I really like Grant Gustin. It's it's kind of been running on fumes, as many would say, the show. Well, finally getting that shot in the arm at the end of the season, the end of the series that the show probably needed much earlier on. Stephen Amell has returned as Oliver Queen / Green Arrow. Now, we left him Crisis on Infinite Earths, I believe it was. Was that the one where he died? And he was sort of taken over by the Spectre and was allowed to interact with them. It's been so long I don't even really remember the particulars, but apparently he went off to some afterlife with Felicity. That's how they ended that. I don't know what they're going to do, but apparently Stephen Amell is back and in costume. That's very exciting because I really liked both these shows. They were the first shows in the Arrowverse, of course, and they both had their hiccups at different points. But I love Grant Gustin as an actor. I love Stephen Amell as an actor and what he did on Arrow. If it was a different network, if it was a different time, perhaps the shows would have been, dare I say, of a higher quality. But unfortunately, stuck at the CW, they kind of ran into a sort of rut that did bring down the popularity to a large extent. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they're getting Melissa Benoist back. I think they got the actress for Batwoman. They've got Dreamer. They've also got Keenan Linsdale, I believe is his name, for Kid Flash returning this season. Of course, David Ramsey's John Diggle / Spartan / Green Lantern is coming back. So again, very exciting. I don't know. What are your memories of The Flash? Are you excited about this final season? Are you excited to see Stephen Amell back? And the great camaraderie that these two always had on screen. It was always fun seeing them together. The trinity of CW, of course, like I said, Melissa Benoist, but Stephen Amell and Grant Gustin, really great chemistry there, and it's going to be sorely missed. And again, we're looking at the end of an era. You know, unfortunately, I don't see anytime soon there being this great television universe for comics, this connectability between shows, which was something that they established even before Marvel did it. Of course, Marvel now has Disney Plus streaming for their shows, but to some extent they can complement the each other and the movies, but it doesn't quite feel the same, because I don't know, no matter which way you slice it, it's kind of like, all right, there was a thread left in Black Widow that they dealt with in Hawkeye. And then they left a thread for Daredevil in Hawkeye. And it kind of feels like that's just like the Hansel and Gretel, leading breadcrumbs out, and then you can just do another show that has to do with that, do another show that has to do with that. But there's not that interconnectivity where the Flash shows up on Arrow, Arrow shows up on the Flash shows up on Supergirl, then there's a big crossover. You know what I mean? There really doesn't have that kind of appeal, I don't think, in the Disney Plus way of doing it that they seem to be doing on Disney Plus and Marvel. So, again, feels like the end of an era. And I would have hoped that also they could involve Superman in this, because the Flash is really kind of a big deal in the Arrowverse. I mean, Arrow started everything, but the Flash outlasted the rest of his peers. And quite honestly, I think I would have liked to see them last 10 years. I said that before. They should have at least met or bested Smallville's record, because I have a grudge against Smallville. But let me know what you think. Any fond memories of the Flash, and what you're looking forward to in the final season. All right, so again, we've got the Mandalorian trailer. How's that grab you? Mandalorian Season 3 will be out. And the trailer for this came out not long ago either. All right, let me see if I can find the copy. All right, let's see. During this season, the journeys of the Mandalorian through the Star Wars galaxy continue. Once a lone bounty hunter, Din Djarin has reunited with Grogu. Meanwhile, the New Republic struggles to lead the galaxy away from its dark history. The Mandalorian will cross paths with old allies and make new enemies as he and Grogu continue their journey together. The series stars Pedro Pascal, Katie Sackhoff, Carl Weathers, which had a birthday yesterday, 75 years old. That's, one of my favorite actors, Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers. Happy birthday. Amy Sedaris, Emily Swallow, and Giancarlo Esposito. Directors of the 8-episode season 3. 8 episodes. Ooh, jeez. That's sad. I wish it was a little longer. I need this show to take the taste of Andor out of my mouth, to be totally honest with you. The directors of the 8-episode season 3 include Rick Famuyiwa, Rachel Morrison, Lee Isaac Chung, Carl Weathers, Peter Ramsey, and Bryce Dallas Howard. Jon Favreau is the showrunner, head writer, and serves as an executive producer along with Dave Filoni, Rick Famuyiwa, Kathleen Kennedy, and Colin Wilson. Karen Gilchrist and Carrie Beck are co-executive producers. So, like I said, not particularly enamored with Andor was I. If you saw one of the more recent videos, we were talking about this. Just didn't feel like Star Wars to me. Was not entirely impressed. But again, with this trailer, we see some images of, looks like the Jedi during the Purge, which is exciting. I mean, of course, this show was set in the post Return of the Jedi era. So I imagine this is in flashback or something to that effect. We see Grogu doing some Force things. He's using the Force push on some kind of Lion Man monster or whatever that was. And Din decides to go back to Mandalore to atone for his sins because he, of course, removed his helmet in front of others, which is a big no-no. That's a big no-no to the Mandalorians. Anyway, like I said, I'm not as gaga on this series, I think, as a lot of people were, but this is probably the best series that they have, apart from, in my opinion, Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I'm kind of in a minority there, that I think that was probably their best work. But again, it's difficult because Obi-Wan Kenobi is flawed. So as much as I would really love if Obi-Wan Kenobi was a movie. If they just trimmed out probably 2 full episodes, stitched it together a little bit, and made it like a 3-hour movie, it would probably be roughly a 3-hour movie. It would probably be a lot better. But unfortunately, we were left with a character called Reyna, and just that really brought the whole episode, the whole series down anytime she was on the screen. All right, so let me know what you think about The Mandalorian. And what are you looking forward to in season 3? And what do you think the future is for The Mandalorian? Is this going to be just an unending series? Are they going to tie in to Luke again? Because they even did that in the Book of Boba Fett, where we had them reunite and Luke sort of let Grogu go. That's something that a lot of people are poo-pooing, that, they had that happen in Book of Boba Fett instead of in The Mandalorian proper. But that was not a big deal to me. I mean, who wasn't going to watch the Book of Boba Fett? Again, the Book of Boba Fett really wasn't that great, but I'm really hoping they get another season so they could sort of right the ship. I know that Tamara Morrison wanted to do better as Boba Fett. He wasn't satisfied with just playing him the way that they wrote him. All right, so next up, another story that we have here on tap. I'm trying to find some news about the Red Sonja movie. I'm not honestly a big Red Sonja fan, but I am kind of excited to see that they apparently are going to try to be faithful to Red Sonja, although it's kind of a strange balancing act. In this case, we'll see here as we read the copy. Matilda Lutz, of course, will be playing Red Sonja. Solomon Kane director MJ Bassett is now at the helm, and she was adamant she wanted to modernize Red Sonja by making some changes to her origin. Whenever they say that, it's kind of a gut punch. You don't want them to change the origin. She tells The Hollywood Reporter, "I didn't warm to the previous script, which was much more sexual politics. Obviously, in my personal life, I'm interested in that, but as a storyteller, I don't think it's interesting." Bassett decided to alter a key aspect of Sonja's backstory, her brutal rape by marauding enemies. So they're going to take the rape aspect out of the character's backstory. "I have no interest in fictional women who use that as an engine of motivation," she says. It's not a strong motivation. She's just a human being in the world of femininity. So, again, this is, I am of two minds of this, because on the one hand, I'm a purist and I want them to stick to the story. And that was the story. That was the way it was written, I guess, by Howard. He created Red Sonja, right? Robert Howard. Robert E. Howard, right? It doesn't say in the copy. I'm pretty sure he created her. And again, you get that kind of gut punch whenever they say they're going to change the origin. So in this case, to be honest with you, that's such an ugly subject. I honestly don't mind not having to have that be in the story. I mean, you could still have a compelling story and, have like revenge and so forth be the primary motivation without having to have that be part of it. Again, I don't know how the YouTube algorithm functions too well, but I don't want to say that word too many times. But again, it is an ugly scenario. And so, I mean, I don't really mind that they're going to omit that from her origin, from her backstory. Also, it probably means that this will be a little less intense. Maybe this will be a PG-13, which means I might actually be able to watch it. So that's a good thing. So I'm hoping that they'll still do justice to Red Sonja, and they'll be able to still omit that part of the origin. Now, here's the good news. One potentially controversial staple of the character that will be staying, however, is her revealing chainmail bikini. Bassett acknowledges that Sonja became a character for 13-year-olds that was never accessible beyond. The filmmaker clearly felt that Sonja's signature outfit shouldn't be tampered with. So, I guess from the one picture that was released, we really can't get this settled. That's why I wasn't quite sure of it. But apparently they are going to try to stick closely to the drawing, at least I guess, as was it John Buscema that I think did it, the first drawing of her in this costume. That is, it's an eye catcher, and it really is the default look for Red Sonja. I don't see ever doing a Red Sonja that didn't have that look. I think they did the Brigitte Nielsen movie. I seen that once when I was a kid, long time ago, and she didn't quite have that look, although they did, I guess, try to homage some of the Marvel Comics looks that she had, not the signature outfit, but some of the other ones. Red Sonja also stars Wallace Day as Anicia, Robert Sheehan is Dragon, Michael Bisping as Hawk, Martin Ford as General Karlach, and Eliza Montague as Amonarch. Filming is currently underway in Bulgaria. So, again, this is pretty interesting news, pretty exciting news. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you looking forward to Red Sonja? Kind of a comic book, It started, like I said, with, I think, Robert E. Howard creating her, I believe, back in the 30s and 40s. So, let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, and for our final story of the evening, the final story, we'll talk about our pal, our buddy, Jeremy Renner for a minute here. Now, he had a very harrowing experience during this new year. Unfortunately, he was run over by his snowplow, which, again, it seemed like a very bizarre story when it first broke. Now, he was trying to plow himself out and I think his neighbors during New Year's Day. And apparently the snowplow ran over his leg and part of his torso. And also, I think he also had head injuries, head trauma during all this. Very lucky to be alive is Jeremy Renner, of course, the Avengers Hawkeye, the MCU's Hawkeye. The Hawkeye series, of course, I think that was slated to have another season. But again, unfortunately, I don't know if that's even going to be in the cards for Jeremy Renner in the near future, because he has a lot of recuperation to do. Details about the actor's injuries have been vague, with reports he suffered blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries. So he had some surgeries for this already. The surgeries have been successful thus far, with Renner taking to social media to provide updates on his status. The updates have been uplifting, but there is possibly a bleaker picture. Let's see. According to celebrity gossip website Radar Online, friends of Renner describe the actor's condition as much worse than anyone knows. The right side of his chest was crushed. His upper torso had collapsed. He had a bad head wound that was bleeding and leg injury. Again, there's also been some speculation that perhaps his leg will have to be amputated at some point. He could already have had his leg amputated for all we know. From what I hear, that was the most serious part of the injury. But again, this is kind of speculative. I don't want to really throw wild rumors out there without any real hard evidence. But apparently, this is a very serious injury, and God bless him that he has survived it. And apparently, you know, the information on his leg is touch and go, and nobody really knows how that's going to go. But here we all wish for him the best, and hopefully he makes complete recovery. I would love to see him play Hawkeye again. Of course, I always thought he was a great Hawkeye, and even in some of the lesser projects, like I wasn't crazy about Endgame, I wasn't crazy about Age of Ultron, but he still provided a lot of entertainment as that character of Clinton Barton. And we'll really be sad to, not have him there as Hawkeye at some point. Now, I know the series kind of was the first step toward, getting a replacement for him, a junior replacement, so to speak. And I can't remember that character's name right now, no matter how hard I try. But still that his character survived, unlike so many of these characters in the MCU, unlike Tony Stark and Steve Rogers and Natasha. He had a chance to actually be some kind of mentor figure, even if he wasn't going to be the prime Hawkeye character in the universe. But hopefully in some form or fashion he will be able to remain in the MCU as perhaps a Hawkeye that's a little worse for wear. But best wishes and prayers for Jeremy Renner, and hopefully this year we'll see him completely recover and be the best that he can possibly be after that kind of traumatic experience. All right, so before we leave you here, and thank you, God love you for being there, God love you for watching this, and hopefully you enjoyed the program. Be sure you check out the link in the description below for the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. We have no lack of consternation on my part with Indie Planet not releasing on their website my most recent issue. They're taking forever. I contacted them about 2 months ago. Apparently, they're not in any hurry to get it up there on their site. But if you want a copy, please just go to my website. You can email me at the contact form. You can, DM me on Twitter. If you want this issue, that's probably the only way you're going to be able to do it, because there's no distributor for me at this point. But I still have a bunch of issues that I've got in my possession. It won't take me very long to get them to you if you want one. $4, and we'll take care of the shipping and handling too. So this is a panel released from Bullets Bourbon 11. This is going to be beginning our 11th year in comics this month, and this is Pencil Neck, and he's he's quite taken aback here. He's trying to make up with the citizens of Stark City. He wants to be accepted as a new member of society after his criminal past, and he's quite overcome with emotion as he's trying to convey his repentance to Stark City and a crowd of onlookers. And the other image that I released recently, hope to have a few more ready for you in the near future, but this is, of course, our new character, Thelma. And Thelma is a wealthy dowager. It's always good to have one of those on your side, as Pencil Neck realizes. And this is the meeting of Thelma and Pencil Neck. And Thelma, as I said, was kind of inspired on Una O'Connor. And she was an actress back in the 30s. She was probably best known for being in The Invisible Man, 2 James Whale classics, also Bride of Frankenstein, The Adventures of Robin Hood with Errol Flynn. She was in a lot of things in the 30s. And my inspiration was to draw basically the most homely woman imaginable. Because I had said to myself, everybody knows being an artist, one of the great pleasures of the job is being able to draw the most beautiful women you can imagine. But of course, I had to challenge myself. I wanted to I wanted to prove to myself that I could draw the most homely woman imaginable, page after page after page. And that's when I came up with Thelma. And Pencil Neck finds her to be a key ally, as we have to find out, is his plan really to reconcile himself to the people of Stark City, or is he planning a revenge attempt upon Bullets Bourbon and his friends? What do you think? Well, you'll find out in The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, issue number 11. We are still striving to get this issue out probably in late spring. So keep your eyes open for that one on my website. We've got the cover revealed, and we are going to wrap it up now. So there you have it, folks. Make sure you check the links in the description below and leave me a comment. Did you appreciate this show? Do you appreciate the comics? Do you appreciate the live streams? Whatever you appreciate, let me know about it in the comments below. It's always fun and dandy to read them, and I try to read them all live. I know I have a couple of comments that I haven't read yet on my comments page, but we will get to them in time. Try to make this a somewhat briefer show this week. All right, so until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon. All right, so